this stage of life, I don't think a lot of people think this is going to be old. I mean, you and I can feel it. I know you can feel it. You're not the same age, but it's like this feels like the beginning, and the level of joy and happiness and everyday fulfillment. And I think a lot of people, in their 20s and 30s, in their 20s trying to prove yourself, maybe 30s, 40s, hopefully you've proven yourself enough to yourself, you know who you are a bit, you start to grow, you start to really master things, you can move more with your pinky than you used to do working 12 hours a day, and then if you realize what you do, you work 15 hours a day anyway. But this stage of life is my happiest stage, and I don't know you long enough to know if it is for you, but would this be the happiest stage of your life?
I would agree, and I'd sum it up in 2 words: grace.
Yes.
And gratitude.
I 100% agree. Okay. 100% agree.
Yeah. 100% agree. I am grateful for every person along this journey.
Me too.
Who taught me so much. Yes. Okay. Some taught me great, wonderful lessons, and some taught me some lessons about humanity that I'm like, okay, I don't like those kind of people, right? And, okay. And there's an important part of that. And then the grace that comes with what we are able to deliver to communities that we care about.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, it's a new thing. I've got a good friend of mine who's part of my Bible study class, and he and I talk about, he's like, you should feel blessed to be a blessing. Absolutely. And that's one of the greatest things, to feel blessed to be a blessing, because the 3 of us have the opportunity to be blessings for people, to improve their condition in retirement, improve their opportunity to create for their families, to improve their outlook on themselves, their lives. Yes. I mean, what you do improves people's view of themselves and what they can go accomplish. Look, we do a lot of things and we create a lot of value. And, I have a bunch of I think 50% of the school teachers and police officers, we manage money for in the U.S., which is great. And that's an important part of our job.
Yes.
As important it is to create an environment where my people know that they have the capacity beyond that to change the communities that they live in.
I agree 100%.
That is so important. So that's the grace part of this.
Yeah, I wear these hats that say "Continue to outside." I get people to wear them that says "Be a blessing and you'll be blessed."
Yes, that's it.
That's to me, that's the whole game of life.
That's it. That's
all you have to do.
Yeah.
Focus on being a blessing and you'll be blessed. You don't have to worry about being blessed. You don't have to worry about doing that if you're being a blessing.
When did that come to you? I mean, because I look at my kids now, my older kids, and I don't think they get that quite yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. When did that come to you?
I got it at an early age, but I think I got it because we suffered so much.
You got it early. You got it early.
I was very lucky. I think very early on, seeing people suffering, I never could separate from that. I suffered, but I suffered less because I was focused on taking care of other people. Right. My mom people interviewed my mom when she was still alive, and they'd say, "Has he always been like this?" And she said, "I'll tell you. When he was 4 years old, my mom couldn't move. She was, depressed and also pregnant, and so I had to be responsible. 4 years old, go to the liquor store and buy stuff." She said, "I gave him money to go buy milk and bread, and he's gone forever."
Yeah.
And she said he came back and I had no milk or bread. She goes, "Where's the milk and bread?" I said, "Well, there's a poor boy there." So I gave her money. She goes, "We're poor."
Right. Like, what do you think? Yeah, right.
I want to ask you something I'd love just to capture. I'm working a book on decisions right now. Mm-hmm. And just real quickly, I believe it's your decisions more than your conditions that shape your life.
Yeah.
We all have horrible conditions at times, ridiculous, sometimes unjust conditions.
Yeah.
But it's the decisions we make, I think, that ultimately shape our destiny. And I think grace can help shape that. There's zero question in my mind. I believe in grace. But I'm curious, if you look back on your life, and I know this is a big question, and I'm not looking for the exact answer, but are there 2 or 3 decisions that you can look back on and say, if I would have made a different decision, my life would be completely different today, that you're grateful that you made?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say so. I had the great fortune last year. I decided to go on a Camino. Okay. So I didn't do the 34-day, I did the 6-day because, finding 34 days of my life.
Of course,
right? But 6 days was wonderful. My cousin who had just recovered from cancer, he said, "I'd like you to come with me."
Yes.
I said, okay. And so, he's smart enough to ask me a year in advance. So I can a year to be ask me to do something a year from now. Yeah, let's do it. Right. And it was like, oh my gosh. Right. And my wife, we're getting, she's like, "Have you trained for this?" I said, "I don't need to train for this." She's like, "You're walking 8 to 10 hours a day." I said, "I got this. I went and walked the other day in Manhattan. I'm good." Ooh, man. Right. Yeah. All that stuff. That's why I wear sandals. It just helps my feet now. But I will tell you, I had a chance to replay my life. And I call it the tape of my life. My cousin, love him dearly. I grew up, my dad was eldest of 8, big family, 22 kids at your birthday party. You could invite one friend because 21 were your cousins. It was that kind of a family, right? And it was wonderful and all that. But he's a little chatty, so he likes to talk. And so the first day I'm like, okay, so I have a little speaker on my backpack. I say, listen, when the music's on, that means I'm kind of in my thoughts. So I kept the music playing for 5 days straight. But what that gave me a chance to do was really reflect on exactly that, decisions. Okay.
Yes.
There was one major decision to go away to school, to go to Cornell. So I gave you a little bit of the construct of my family. My dad, eldest of 8, took care of all the 6 sisters.
Yes.
One of his brothers died,
Yes.
and their kids. And
Yes.
so I remember he was an elementary teacher and then became a school principal. And so when he got his check, that was like everybody, was able to now feed their kids. My cousins.
Right.
I mean, that was what was happening because a lot of them were on, different forms of assistance and all that sort of stuff. And I saw that. And, I got scholarships to play, football and all that sort of stuff in different places. But in Colorado, I got scholarships to, School of Mines and Colorado State and but I realized that if I stayed in town, I would just be taking over my father's place. Okay. And that was to provide for that community in a way.
How old were you when you made this realization?
17 years old.
I was going to say, that's such a young age to make that decision.
Okay, so remember, while I'm working at Bell Labs, now for the first time, I met somebody who went to an Ivy League school. Okay, Vic Hauser, okay, he went to Brown, Stanford. I was like, wow, brilliant cat. MIT, just right. And so he started telling me about what these schools were about.
Yeah.
And of course, I would go visit CU and CSU and School of Mines. And wow, that was wild for me. I was like, wow, this is pretty. And my dad went to Denver University. My mom went to DC Teachers College and then University of Northern Colorado. But I didn't know anybody who went to these Ivy League schools. And so as a result of, that experience, I got a chance to now go visit Cornell.
Right.
And I went to go visit, flew out there, had $235, and I was like, oh, for a summer program. And that was one of those, wow, I need to go to a place like that. So decisions about, and this kind of leads to the next one, who you spend your time with.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay? Like they say, if you spend your time with 5 fit people, you'll be fit.
Yeah.
Okay, it's the same sort of dynamic. So when you go to a place where these people who are focused on, doing something different, making changes in the world, solving complex problems, making a difference in the world, that's why the school was so important for me there. Okay, don't get me wrong. I'm still very close with the guys I went to high school with.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Oh, dude, we hang out every year. We
That's
have a big thing
awesome.
every summer, all
That's
that. So,
awesome.
the kids, I'm Uncle Rob, it's all of that.
Yeah.
They're in different places in life.
Sure, of
Okay,
course.
different stations, like all are driving themselves forward in the best that they know how.
Yes.
I just had a different aperture earlier.
Yeah.
So I can make a different set of decisions.
Yes.
Okay, so there's that.
A larger reference base.
Yeah. Okay, so
and
that
you're
was
in proximity with power, right?
Right. And then-
Proximity is power.
One of the other things that was interesting, I'll call it, and this, I'll stop after this, but another unique, well, there's a few, but another unique moment. Remember, I graduated degree chemical engineering. I got my first job. I was making $32,000 a year. Okay, that was just more than my father made at the peak of his career. I didn't think you made more money than that.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't think this was, 1980, right? And how could you make more money than that? That was just, insane amount of money.
Yeah.
And then I read this magazine about these guys on Wall Street.